students are gone, but you are still here. And we know how you feel because you are done. But you have so much work to do to get ready for tomorrow. Good afternoon, podcast listeners everywhere. Welcome to After the Bell, a Stunt Brothers production. A podcast that gets inside the life of a teacher and provides a wellness guide for being prepared to take on this most challenging of professions. I'm Martin Stuvel.
And I'm Roy Hunt. And we share your pain, having taught a combined 70 years. The guarantee of this podcast is to make you laugh, make you think, and give you at least one little nugget that you can use in the classroom. So get out your marking, organize your supplies, or just pour yourself a coffee.
I want something stronger.
And listen, engage, and interact with After the Bell, a podcast for you, the hard-working, dedicated teacher who wants free lesson plans, free advice, and a free meal.
Okay, Roy, but I'm not paying for anything more than McDonald's. Well, here we are. So I'm pausing because I think someone wants to talk.
Yeah, we have a few crows here that have stuff to say.
They have a lot to say.
Yes.
I think it's one of the new ones that it's amazing how fast they become the same size as the adult, but they're like a screaming toddler. It's like, feed me, feed me, right? And that's what's happening.
I want food.
Right?
I tried that at home. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work?
They just shut me out.
They don't throw a few things your way?
No.
Oh.
No food. I want food.
Wow.
Today.
Well, we're here. We're in session number 8, summer session 8, and we're looking out at Deep Cove.
Yes. What a beautiful day. I can see people paddleboarding and people swimming. The water is incredibly clear.
There's kayakers out there. It's just amazing. And we got all kinds of interested folk listening to us talk.
Yeah. I often wonder what it would be like this is your daily adventure.
No.
That you just, you look out the doors and like, oh, maybe I'll go swimming today. Maybe I'll put the crab trap out. And that's what you have every day.
That's the lure to me of the Gulf Islands, having something like that where you just come out and you got your kayak ready to go. And
just step out and step out and step in.
But I think people that live here used to have that. And now it's just all the people that come here now, especially on the weekend.
Yeah.
I don't think they're so happy with
There's a big tourist draw here for sure.
There is. And you can see why. I mean, you're 15 minutes from the city, you come to this, and you're still in North Van. But like a lot of things in North Van, it's far more crowded than it used to be.
Yes. So in our last podcast, we talked a lot about reminiscing, and we started reminiscing, and we started talking about the subject we said we wouldn't talk about.
We were at Dorothy Lina's school.
Yes.
And we were in front of the school, and I think we talked a little bit about teaching and all those things that we have said we were not going to talk about this summer.
For the summer.
And we did.
So we have a punishment.
We have a punishment, because you all know the rules. That every time we mention anything to do with that profession that we had said shall not be named, what was going to happen?
Well, we were going to take a drink or a shot.
Yeah.
So then it just makes sense for us to have this episode about our favorite cocktails.
Yeah. And I think you get a double punishment, because where are your headphones?
Well, I plugged them in.
Yeah.
And I got distracted.
So you get to hear the sounds of the Deep Cove, and I hear your voice in my head, and
that's right.
It's quite chilling.
Well, actually, it's quite refreshing not to have your voice in my head right now. Oh my gosh!
This is what it's like. Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Well, you enjoy it, and I'll just be stuck.
I will.
I'll be
Until next time.
Stuck with your voice in my head.
All right.
It's a different version of schizophrenia when you have Roy's head and your voice in your head. I don't know what you call that, but.
So this episode, we were going to do cocktails and podcasts.
I like it.
And I'd like to rename it Good Drinks.
Okay.
And Good Listens.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. So what will we do to share?
I say let's choose our top 5 cocktails for the summer.
Yeah.
And then follow that up with our top 5 podcasts.
Yeah, because I think summer is also about finding time to have a good listen. You know, we can have good reads, good shows to watch, good music, but podcasts have become a big part of everyone's life, right? Especially After the Bell. I mean,
Yes.
that's the number one podcast for everyone.
Yes.
We know that.
I spend most of my time with After the Bell.
That's right. But there are other podcasts out there.
Yes.
And a good drink is always nice. I mean, please, if you are, want a non-alcoholic drink, there are many cocktails that are just so tasteful, right? But we like the alcohol in the cocktails. So
it used to be that if you wanted I want a drink that has no alcohol, and then they give you water.
That was the choice, right?
Right?
They would
there
look at you.
There are very few choices now.
They would frown and go, "What?"
There are a lot more people who choose not to drink.
No, it's
and
especially young people. I find it's wonderful.
The options are unbelievable.
But I'm not one of them.
I'm not one of them either.
So,
all right.
what will we start with?
Well, I'm going to start with mine, and I love in the summertime a citrus-based drink.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to start mine with a grapefruit gin fizz.
Gin.
I love
gin.
Gin is good with just about anything, especially citrus fruits, and a little bit of grapefruit and some gin and some soda, and it's delicious.
I mean, my response for that, if I shared one, would be anything with gin, actually. Right? You and I have been to Copper Penny a few times.
Yes, Copper Penny here in North Vancouver.
It's a wonderful distillery, and it makes their own gin. And wow, very pleasurable.
Yes. All right, my number 2 is margaritas.
Okay,
and
love
again, lime juice with the orange liqueur, the salt, crushed ice, hot day. Couldn't ask for anything better. And tequila.
Yeah, well, one of our favorite restaurants is on Longsdale, and I'll give you the old name. It was Tequila Kachina. Now it's something else Kachina. I can't remember what. Fiesta Kachina, maybe. Anyway, Charlene will know. But it was Tequila Kachina, and great Mexican food, really good price. Don't go Friday nights because the band plays a little too loud. You won't be able to carry on a conversation.
Okay.
But great margaritas, and they actually had these bowls you could share. These. I always think back to in North Van we had these scorpion bowls. It was down on 3rd, next to where Yip's Diner used to be, and it was kind of unhygienic because you would go there with friends, you're 19, 20, and you'd have this big bowl of their drink, and you'd all put a straw in there, like 4 or 5 of you, and that was how you started your Friday night. How do you like them apples?
Nice. Just thinking, good thing there's alcohol in there to kill all the germs from
that's
the
what we
backwash.
said. Yeah, we all survived somehow.
Okay.
But just think when you mentioned the gin.
Yeah.
You and your wife made a wonderful strawberry gimlet
Yes.
for us that we shared, and that was so tasty.
Well,
tell us about the process for that, because that was magical for my mouth, I must say.
I think with a lot of the gin drinks, or in a lot of the drinks, they have sort of syrups that are made, and this syrup with the drink is made with strawberries, and so it's strawberry infused sugar, and it's just let to simmer for such a long time, and then you let the juice go through a strainer, and then you have this beautiful blood red syrup.
It's so dangerous.
It's so good.
This is why on my list of cocktails I actually have something that's not a cocktail. It's a good red wine like a Cab Sav.
Okay.
Because I have trouble just sipping cocktails.
Yes.
So your strawberry gimlet went down really well and went quite quickly.
That's the problem with cocktails on a hot day.
Dangerous.
They go
dangerous.
down so quickly. And drinking in the middle of the day, while it's okay because you're on a holiday, it takes its toll by 3 o'clock.
It does.
But we like to have rum and Coke.
Oh,
Rum and Coke.
Classic,
It's a classic.
Right? It is.
Lots of ice, but it has to have a lime.
Yeah.
Right? For it to be any good.
Yeah. It just goes down so nice on a hot day for sure. Charlene made a wonderful cocktail. She's not sure of the name of it, but it was the other night. It had limoncello, prosecco, a touch of grenadine, but she actually put maple syrup instead, and it was just very refreshing. And that went down very nice. And you partaked in that. And,
very quickly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing. You know how some people say, oh, they drink something or eat something. Oh, there's a hint of, there's a hint of lime in here. Or
Yes.
when I have cocktails, it's like, all I do is I suck it back and ask for another.
Yeah. No. This
So-
is why I don't do it on a regular
Yes.
basis, actually.
Okay.
Another
drink that I like, again, grapefruit based, is called the Salty Dog.
Salty Dog.
Salty
I like
Dog.
the name.
And it's gin and grapefruit and delicious.
And what else do you got?
Okay. And the last one I have, I think mostly it's a great drink, but I also like to say it. It's Sex on the Beach.
Yeah, that's another
And
classic.
Peach
It's
schnapps, orange juice, and vodka.
Wow.
Yeah.
You salty dog, you.
Yeah, Salty Dog. Salty Dog and Sex on the Beach.
And if Clint is listening, Clint Johnston, the
Yes.
former president of the BCTF, we know he loves to make his cocktails, and we hopefully have a future trip to Ottawa to partake in some of
yes.
his incredible, well thought out cocktails, and that would be a good road trip for the Stunt Brothers. I
Yeah,
think.
that would be awesome. All right, so we did the good drinks.
So we have the drink, but then
So
we have a
what
drink,
about the
maybe
good listens?
get out a drink, and then put on a podcast.
Yeah,
And of course, the first choice is After the Bell.
after the bell.
But once you've listened to every episode 4 times, then you can now check out what other podcasts are out there.
Yes.
What are some podcasts you like to listen to?
I like to listen to a podcast called Stuff the British Stole.
I like that
And
one.
it's a history podcast about the stuff that sits in museums and galleries around the world. And how it was taken during colonization of countries or invasion of countries.
Yes,
Or
yeah.
Actually, that could be both.
It totally was both, right? And it just kind
And-
of gets behind the common stories maybe you'll
The
find in your
stories behind
history
them,
books,
yes.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see using a podcast like that in the classroom. Oh, better take a cocktail drink because I'm talking teaching here.
Yeah.
But it really makes it come alive. Like a good history teacher to me is someone that can make it come alive. It's not just old fashioned and something that
Yeah.
you think is just in the books and it doesn't have any pertinence to today. So that is what that does for sure. Now my number one podcast, and it no longer does new episodes, but it's called I Am the Egg Pod. And it kind of a play on I Am the Eggman
Yes.
from I Am the Walrus. And
Yes.
it's, of course, a Beatle podcast.
Yes.
Fantastic podcast. Great stories, great guests on there. He's had all kinds of people like John Lennon's first wife and other people on there talking. And he, in fact, reposted a picture that I had put on there on his site because a year ago I retired.
You did.
And I don't know if I mentioned, I probably did ad nauseum, that my wife made this wonderful thing called Now and Then, which is a connection to the Beatles' last single that came out and a piece of art that George Harrison had. So I had a picture of that, and he saw it, and he kind of put it out there, and we posted and gave it a
nice.
thumbs up, and it was kind of, that was a nice little moment. And I hope he's now a listener of After the Bell.
I hope he is too. Yeah, maybe he'd like to come on after the bell.
that would
Love
be
to
great.
Interview him.
Yes, that would be great.
And so the next,
I'll just pause here.
Wanna pause that?
We got a big wind coming up here, and we're just going to get our stuff that's blowing away. So what else for podcasts?
I have 99% Invisible. It's a podcast that my daughter actually told me to listen to. She said that she thought I'd like it. The podcaster is Roman Mars, and he looks at things that often go unnoticed in everyday happenings. So
Right.
it's all of these things in the big machine of activity, but there's something that goes unnoticed, and he notices it and discusses it.
Yeah, and that's the value of a podcast because it can really go into detail in time, where we live in a world that's also short and snips, right? And
Yep.
little things you scroll through. But a podcast is kind of the opposite of that, and I think that's why people like podcasts. One of my guilty pleasures is not a deep podcast at all. It's actually Office Ladies, and it's with Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey, and they're from The Office.
The Office,
Steve
yep.
Carell, and they're really good friends, and they just go into the episodes of The Office. They've had different people like Steve Carell on, and it's just they actually go over in about 90 minutes, the episode, what it took
Wow.
to, what prepared it, little things that maybe you didn't notice. And I'm a huge Office fan, so it's a lot of fun. It's something to put on to get away from some of the other podcasts I listen to that tend to be a little more serious.
Oh, okay. Well, then I have one that's not serious either.
Okay.
And it's called Good Hang with Amy Poehler.
Okay.
And it's another podcast that my other daughter indicated to me that I would love it. It would be, she thought it would be funny and it'd be interesting for me. And I just love Amy Poehler's humor, and she has a great guest.
Yeah, yeah. And then, as I said with the Office ladies, it's something to get me away from the politics I tend to listen to. But two American-based political shows I like, Pod Save America, and there are these three, they're not young men anymore, they're in their 40s, but they were young men during the Obama presidency, and they were staffers and worked with him and advisors, and he had a real young team behind him. So it's great to listen to kind of make sense of what's going on down there. And the other guy I use to kind of get an idea of what's going on down south is Jon Stewart's The Weekly Show.
Yes.
Yeah, I like his perspective. He's a really smart guy. He's really funny, but he's also really intelligent in what he does and how he probes things deep.
Mm-hmm. Well, keeping with the connection to American history, or connection to listen to things from the United States.
Yeah.
I like to listen to a podcast called History That Doesn't Suck.
Okay.
And the podcaster is Dr. Greg Jackson. He's he discusses American history through entertaining stories. And I've actually learned a lot about American history, and through his podcast, I've actually unlearned some things that I learned that were incorrect. So that's a good podcast when you can get something out of it that...
Yes. Yeah, and I have two history ones I like. One's the history of the Roman Empire, and I've always loved the Roman empires ever since I watched, I think, I, Claudius when I was young. Mm-hmm. That was always a big show that got me into that period of the Roman history. But this history of the Roman Empire, he just gets deep into the empire, and it's fascinating, and some parallels to what we see today in many ways. It's humans and at their best and at their worst, right? And so does Dan Carlin has a show called Hardcore History, and his episodes, you think it's long for us to try to get this podcast done. They could be 4 hours long, right?
My
and
gosh,
it's just him talking for 4 hours. I know. But he goes deep into...
I need a drink.
Yeah, somehow he does it. And to me, listening to it, it sounds like it's almost one take. And he reads so much and can do such a deep dive that he shares these books that he's read and just starts talking about, Genghis Khan or some kind of historical... He talked about the slave trade, for example, and what that entailed and going through that. And some of it's pretty horrible to listen to, but it's fascinating. And his ability to kind of bring all the stuff he's read into his very soothing voice. And it's just something I like to put on and get some history.
Well, speaking of soothing voices, or voices that you could listen to for a long time, I mean, you'd have to have a good voice to listen to someone for 4 hours.
Yeah, you would. I don't listen to it in one go, that's for sure.
But I have Revisionist History with Malcolm Gladwell.
One of my favorite.
I have listened to Malcolm Gladwell's audiobooks.
Yes.
I love to read.
He's a great storyteller, right?
And listen at the same time.
Yes.
There's something about hearing the words, reading the words, and turning the pages that I just get a deeper understanding of what I'm reading. And Malcolm Gladwell...
Don't you find it kind of stops your mind from wandering a bit too?
It does.
When you read, sometimes you do start thinking about other things, and then where you go, what did I just read? But if the voice is there saying the words, it does focus.
Yes. And Malcolm Gladwell, I could listen to him all day.
Yeah. One of his episodes was just fascinating. It was about how important it is to do early intervention in education, and talking about the success when that happens in parts of, it was in L.A., when they got early, but then the problem is sometimes you do that early intervention in American schools, and they're grade 4, grade 5, and those kids, even if they're from poor neighborhoods, they could be as successful as the rich kids. But it often is a location of the school that
Yes.
ends that time. And to go to the middle school, suddenly they're having to cross through gang territory.
Yep.
All the influence of that, and you've lost those kids because they're now becoming teenagers, and all that work you did, if you don't do the follow-up and allow them to be nurtured throughout their teen years, they're lost, and they could have, their potential was huge, right?
Yeah.
And
We have a list from our listeners.
we do,
don't
but
we?
I was going to throw in I have one final one.
Oh, sorry.
It's
Okay.
another weird one that I like to listen to. It doesn't really make sense because it's about airplane crashes. Called Black Box Down. I'm a bit of a fearful flyer, so I don't know if this is a good idea. But it just goes into detail about, and the analysis of and what goes into a plane crash is phenomenal, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why plane travel is actually the safest form of travel, because anytime there is a crash, there's such analysis afterwards to make sure it doesn't happen again. And it's just fascinating, the idea of going to the background and looking at the black box and trying to figure out what went wrong.
I would like to listen to it, but not while I was simultaneously flying.
I think I remember being on a plane once and watching like one of the airport movies or something, thinking, this is wrong. This doesn't feel right. It's not dealing with my fear of flying very well.
I had the same experience, but I was listening to Malcolm Gladwell and Outliers, and one of the chapters was about Korean Airlines and how they were able to change. Korean Airlines at one point had the title as being one of the unsafest airlines in the world.
That's in one of his books,
and they talk about listening to black boxes. They talk about airplane crashes, and I was listening to it, and at the same time thinking, well, this is kind of weird. I'm in an airplane flying to Vancouver and listening about airplane crashes.
And that was a fascinating episode or part of his book, because they did say, I think the way the system was, the Korean pilots showed such order of who was in charge. And even though the second officer wanted to say something, they didn't. They put it in a very underhanded, very overly polite way, right?
Indirect way, because you could not challenge your senior.
And so they got actually American advisors to come in to kind of redo how they run it, because the Americans, who had a very similar incident that happened with that one plane, they had to bring the plane down. They brought it down to the nearest airport. There was no questions asked. And it was just that ability to deal with emergencies that was a cultural thing.
And it was really good way of looking at the cultural differences in something like.
Yeah. But good on them for learning from that.
Flight.
And it's amazing that you can change, and it is one of the safest airlines for sure. But you're right. We were going to share a few listener suggested podcasts. So Letitia, she said a few. She said she really enjoys listening to Soul to Story, Chalk and Talk, and Invisibilia. And Sue talks about Behind the Table, and she really likes crime podcasts such as 2020 and Dateline. But she said,
sorry.
No, she was just saying that she tries not to listen to it when she's walking alone in the dark, because it does not help her walk.
Crime podcasts are really
they're
popular
the big.
right
I think
now.
if you look at the top 10 list of podcasts, there's often at least half of them are crime podcasts.
Maybe it's a direction we should go.
Yeah.
No.
We could. School crime? I don't know. What would we do?
Is it a crime when you don't have enough paper?
Right. Yeah.
Markers.
Who used the most photocopy money, right?
Who ate my lunch from the fridge?
That's right. That's a big one.
That's a big crime.
I'll tell you what's a crime. You want to hear a really bad segue? It's a crime that we're sitting here on this beautiful sunny day while there's people out there are enjoying that
swimming.
Water. So I think we should go down and enjoy the water and enjoy the beach.
I think so too. It's time to go.
Yeah. Everyone, we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
This podcast is organic, taking shape with each episode. Building resiliency for teachers everywhere.
That sounds great.
And our website is stuntbrothers.ca.
That's stuntbrothers.ca.
We will chat again
after the bell.